Hello, audience. Welcome back.
Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
Scream, directed by Wes Craven, slashed its way onto screens in 1996, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox and David Arquette. It was set in a world where the characters knew about the existence of horror films and had to play by their rules if they wanted to survive. It spawned 3 sequels directed by Wes Craven, 3 MTV series, and the new film, directed by the same people behind Ready or Not, starring Samara Weaving, is in cinemas now with the aforementioned old cast returning alongside new faces. So, Joshua, how familiar are you with the Scream series?
Only the first one and first season of one of the MTV shows.
Oh, really? So you have seen the MTV show?
Yes.
Yeah, what do you think of that one? I haven't seen it yet.
Not bad.
I like what they did with the mask there because they didn't have the rights to use it.
Yes.
And it was like apparently some thematic reason why it looks like it. No.
Yes.
But you've only seen the first film, so that was interesting.
I know that it goes all wonky after the second one.
Yeah, it's the third one, because, I mean, the first one was kind of like a big whodunit kind of thing, and that was kind of the mystery.
Meta whodunit commentary.
The second one was in the early days of the internet where the big spoilers were actually leaked online before its release. So it's kind of the precedence, you set the precedence for how, a lot of films are handled now. And I mean, this film opens up with Ghostface on screen warning not to spoil the film, which we're not going to do for anyone who's concerned.
No.
The third one was apparently so chaotic that they changed who the killer was several times, and several would-be killers were actually killed off, to sort of throw off any leaks and rumours that were happening, which seems crazy now. I mean, you'd kind of expect that kind of secrecy for like Marvel films today. And we
a lot of there was no disclosure.
Like NDAs and stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
We were sitting in the theatre and there wasn't many people in there, but you're thinking 20 years ago this probably would have been massive, this film. Yes. Drawing the kind of crowds we saw with Spider-Man. But yeah, so going into this, you must have been a bit like, oh, okay, trying to piece things together.
Trying to sort of figure out where everyone is, because I know that most of the films, at least to some varying degree, follow around Sidney Prescott, Final Girl.
The plot becomes more and more convoluted the more it goes on.
Yeah. Here it kind of does sort of a similar thing. I did see a lot of retreading, but saying, look, we're doing it, but we're not doing it the way that you thought we're going to do, following the original.
I was thinking as I was watching this film kind of escapes criticism in a way by lampshading every twist and every trope that it does. But we're still going to try and criticize it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there were many jump scares like, yep, someone is indirectly called the killer. In my back of my mind, called it.
Yeah, it's a twisty one.
It definitely feels like it was made with Wes's writing style and Wes in mind. I mean, the film was dedicated to him.
Yeah, it was Kevin Williamson who also did I Know What You Did Last Summer. Back in the 90s, and kind of inspired like Halloween H20 and all that sort of stuff. This is definitely like a reaction to the recent Halloweens, Black Christmases, even Star Wars to a degree.
It follows some trope. One of the characters doesn't like slasher films. They prefer heightened horror.
Yeah, like The Babadook and Hereditary and all that. Which, is kind of crazy. In the last 10 years, we've seen the rise of heightened horror, like art house horror films, which have
the fancy stuff.
I mean, slashers now, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven's, and John Carpenter's Halloween are kind of considered to be classics and great movies in their own right, and somewhat escape like the tropes. And this film currently is sitting on the exact same score as the very first film, so it's the highest rated thing in the Scream series. We live in a different world now.
We do, and it definitely does its best to modernize it, much like the TV series did. It does its best to adapt the situation to the changing technology.
And attitudes as well. I'm sort of wondering now, because the original one felt like it played to the tropes of like teen movies at the time where you had actors who were all in their 20s.
Well, it was a breakdown of slasher films.
Yeah.
A breakdown of horror film in general. It was, pretty people getting stabbed. And then, lo and behold, there is no faceless monster. The killer is, in fact, quite human and disturbed, even.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the original.
Well, yeah, we won't talk specifics. But this one as well, I was thinking about the cast, and I'm thinking, like, oh, they feel very real. But I'm like, actually, no, this is like the kind of cast you'd see in teen movies now.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay, that's right, that's perfect.
20-somethings pretending to be high schoolers.
Much more convincing 20-somethings. I mean, the main girl, Tara, was actually like only 17 or 18 when she filmed this.
Oh, hey.
So she looks very young. And as I was watching that first scene, I'm like thinking, there's a difference, I mean, in the sense that now, with so much horror going on in the world for real, it's kind of a bit weird to take joy out of people being cut up by serial killers and that in the films. And
I didn't feel any joy with people getting sliced and diced.
No.
Sadly, in the back of my mind was going, there's only one really creative kill in this entire movie.
Which was that one?
That was the running shink.
Blank that out.
Yeah, blank that out. There wasn't that many creative kills. Granted, slashers don't need to be that creative because they're
well, I mean, Freddy Krueger.
They're dealing with real world elements.
Yeah.
Scream.
Jason Voorhees and Pamela Voorhees, to a degree, are also, for the most part, grounded and real. I mean, like, Jason becomes a revenant,
Yeah.
halfway through that series, but he's kind of doing
Jason's
things
also
within...
a freak of nature.
Yeah, he's also doing things within a reasonable limit, and as was his mother.
Yes, but here there's no multiple murder weapons, much like the... I can't speak for the other films other than the first one, where it's only the one murder weapon, the knife.
I think of the first two films, which I think are the better ones. I mean, one's great, two's really great. 3 is great because we had Liz on last year.
Oh, yes.
Liz, we sort of spoke behind the scenes about the Scream series, and she said, I think 3 is actually really brilliant because even though it's a mess, it's a parody of, like, sequels in this genre where they become a mess, they become convoluted, and it's sort of parodying that, and you kind of go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's actually a better film with that in mind, which sort of makes you think it's escaping criticism away. It's not unintended mess, it's intentional mess.
The characters here definitely feel a bit more organic.
They do, yeah. And I think that's kind of a trope now where we want authenticity. We want something that's true to life in our drama now. And sort of going back to something like Dawson's Creek feels a bit very, I should say, even.
Yeah.
Unreal, in a way.
Almost, yeah.
He actually created Dawson's Creek, did Kevin Williamson, the writer of the original Scream. So that's actually what one of the characters is watching at one point in this film. And yeah, I mean, you go back, Courtney Cox in the 90s was, big deal, and David Arquette as well, and...
Now they're kind of shadows of their former selves.
They all look great, I thought. Neve Campbell
Yeah.
especially, and it's kind of, not to talk about people's physical appearances, but yeah, they're all great in this. They all look great. It's great to see them back, and...
It is. It's good to have Legacy come back.
But yeah, it's kind of the comment of this film in that you can't just do reboots. You can't just... Which is what they were doing like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You can't just do like, continued sequels or reimagine things because people lose their minds. Like
Requels.
Well, yeah, this is called a requel. It's like a reboot sequel, like Halloween, like Black Christmas, where Halloween a few years ago basically wiped out every film apart from the original, and it's a direct sequel to that, and takes new elements. And this one, in a way, sort of feels like that. It's almost disregarded a lot of things that came in the sequels. Although, the character of Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, his fate was in one of the films, we shall say.
Ambiguity.
Yeah. I did like the dig at Ryan Johnson. I don't say his name.
No, there's definitely a commentary on the toxicity of fandoms here.
Yeah, because they have that joke, but then later on they kind of go like, oh, well, this is actually exemplifying the kind of people who spoke out against films like The Last Jedi and that. And it's one of those things as well where when you get down to the motives of the characters, it feels a little tacky, I guess. But that was kind of the same deal with the originals. Like, they were kind of saying we were inspired by the horror movies, Horror movies radicalized us and turned us into killers, which was...
Petty motivations continue.
It was the big moral panic of the time, and it was sort of making fun of that, of like,
it's destroying the children. Oh, the gaming, the movies.
And now it's like, oh no, I was radicalized on the internet. It's like,
I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Therefore, I must go to my school and wipe out my class.
There's actually, in Scream 2, actually, when the killers spoilers by saying killers, met online. And yeah.
It seems to be a continuing trope with Scream. They always work in pairs.
Yeah, mostly. I was going to have a bet with you before we went in. How many killers are going to be in this one?
Yeah, no, I was mentally trying to check. I thought, ooh, nah.
What do you think about the mystery element?
It was interesting. I do like a bit of a good thinking. I do like a bit of a good think during my films. And it definitely actively engaged me.
I was kind of wondering if it was going to do something like pull out that a character we hadn't seen yet was going to be the killer. Because there's quite a few characters who are absent throughout this. I mean, Sam and Tara's mum is always mentioned but never seen.
Yeah.
But that was going back to the original one. You know, like Sydney's dad was never seen apart from like the very end, and even then, can't picture him. And I guess COVID restrictions, you know, sort of prevented there being an actor on set, maybe. Sydney's husband is never seen, but it's believed to be the same character Patrick Dempsey played in Scream 3. So it all sort of ties together.
It's weird. For a while, I thought the killer was going to be, what's his name? Billy's mate. The first killer. The other one.
That would have been interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Old Shaggy back from
Yeah.
the dead. Ruh-roh. Like zoinks. Trying to make a film without me.
Guess what, dude?
I think that's more Michelangelo.
Sequel time!
It's going to be a Scream, man. Zoinks. But yeah, going back to the thought I had earlier, the intro scene is basically kind of a remake of the original Scream.
Really shot for shot.
Yeah. And it was interesting as I was watching it, I was thinking, I don't want this character to die, actually. I mean, with the original, it's Drew Barrymore, big star, and it was the big shock twist that she doesn't make it past the 10-minute mark. Spoilers for a 25-year-old movie.
Oh, no!
Actually, this film came out 25 years and 25 days after the original, which is... wow. Yeah, and the fact that they were able to... The fact that we're able to time it, you know, with COVID still going on, you know, able to go like, nah, you know, this is coming out on the day we're going to...
Must be so. Make it so.
Yeah. Yeah, and...
The nerds. They'll love it.
Yeah, it's... God, I mean, Scream's probably one of the oldest horror franchises I know, because it was around when I was a kid, and then when I was a teenager, and it's sort of always been in the background, and...
Still going.
Yeah. Do you think there's a future for this series after this film?
So long as that there are slashers and horror films, there will always be a need for a whodunit meta.
There was a scene which happens during the daytime, like quite a public kill, and I was wondering, is this like a comment on the heightened horror films like Midsummer, where you have horrible, brutal scenes of violence in broad daylight? But then I remember there's other daytime kills in the original Scream, so it's hardly, you know. I think going forward, they need to forge a new path, perhaps.
They do. They need to move out of...
I mean, they've done that with the MTV series.
Yeah.
Which I think are canon to the films.
Hey.
There is potential out there for, you know, more psychopaths to don a Halloween costume and stab their friends if they want to. In the films, we should say.
Yeah. Yeah. No. We've got enough of that happening already.
Yeah.
I think it's not quite going to end up being that timeless series, but it will probably be one of those more able to change with the times.
Yeah. I think, this might be a film which is considered to be as good as or better than the original in some way. Probably as good as.
I would say as good as.
But it's not going to be as well regarded, I don't think. Or maybe it will sort of have, like, its use by date will sort of come and go, and, you know...
It won't age like fine wine. It will age like milk, like most of these films will.
Yeah. I think, it's true. It's very of the time, and unless it can sort of be used as a criticism, and then go forward with this series and sort of pay homage to the heightened horror, where it's a bit more cerebral and sort of...
elevated.
I was wondering if it was going to do that at times. There is another returning character from the original who was brought to life with de-aging, which was a really well done effect, I thought.
It is.
It was quite surprising to see that.
Shocking.
And it kind of doesn't hold on to its mysteries. It sort of puts them all out in the first few.
Oh no, it places its cards on the table, but still leaves one in its hand.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're going to give you all the clues, and now it's just for you to sort of process of elimination to figure it out.
Put them together. I was surprised. I found it interesting. I genuinely thought I was going to go into this film and go, cool, it's a rehash. But no, it actually takes what it's expected of and doesn't throw it in your face, but goes, ha, I did something different with it.
And if it does, it acknowledges it as something to comment upon how films do that now.
Yes.
Which, like I said, it kind of removes it from criticism in a way, because it kind of knows what it's trying to do. But yeah, like I said, we sort of live in a world now where there's real life horror, and it's kind of a bit weird to see people get cut up for fun. And you've kind of got heightened things like, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, where Freddy Krueger's just doing weird stuff, with the dream world. But this is very real, and it didn't acknowledge that element where it kind of felt a bit more traumatizing to see some characters who we identified with be cut up in such a way.
Yes.
Like the first girl, Tara, I was watching thinking, I don't want her to die. And, she didn't really do much, but it was just sort of the vulnerability, the youth to her sort of made her feel a lot more real and a lot more like it was going to be more traumatizing going forward. And it throws some really traumatizing stuff in those first few minutes as well, like a knife through the hand. And yeah,
yikes.
And then you have to deal with the aftermath of that for the rest of the film. She's still... Spoilers. Yeah, oh God, that scene. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the blood on the wheel. Oh.
Ugh.
Ghostface looks cool as well.
Oh, still keeping with the same style.
Yeah. And he's standing there at that pivotal scene. It's been an honor as he stands there with both knives and just looks so cool, but it's so horrible and traumatizing at the same time.
Yep.
And I think it's the first time we actually see Ghostface talk in the flesh. Like, we only ever hear him on the phone.
Yep.
Or, like, hear the villain step forward with the voice changer. But this time we actually see it happen. Like, Scream is currently in cinemas.
Yes, it is.
And not sure about the other ones. The Righteous Gemstones is a series from Danny McBride, who actually did the Halloween movies, the recent Halloween ones, and he's also done the series Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals, which is one of my favourite comedy series. It's set in the world of evangelical megachurches and the cults around them, sort of the wealth and the selfishness and all the other kind of crazy stuff they get up to. It also stars John Goodman and Adam Devine and Walton Goggins, and Eric Roberts is in Series 2, which is currently airing on Foxtel every Wednesday night. And this is a series, it feels like they're really taking inspiration from their Halloween roots with a lot of violence and gore. Episode 2 ends with, like, in Series 2, with just like the three children of this, evangelical megachurch are all sort of selfish and twisted in their own ways. Go to talk to this reporter who's going to be writing an expose and sort of expose all their dirty deeds. And they show up and find a massacre, and it's kind of like they trip and fall in blood, and they're trying to get into their Tesla, but it won't open the doors, and they're trying to... They get in, and the doors close and lock, and they're like, open the door. And it's filled with, like, ridiculous scenes. It's filled with, like, a lot of muscle men and using the HBO budget to its full extent.
It's not TV, it's HBO.
Yeah, and it's, if you're a fan of Danny McBride's other stuff, this is really kind of, that turned up to 11. And it's a lot more satirical and parodic going into this one, where they're kind of like they're building a villa on the beaches of Miami, and, they're kind of talking about the pesky turtle population they have to take into consideration. Jabs and jibes, about, sort of these...
To quote my favourite robotic preacher, the hell with the turtles!
Well, Robot Pete Preacher, how about that? Yeah. So it is quite satirical in the way, and I was kind of thinking back with Series 1, it wasn't really touching upon the hypocritical side, but it does.
Yeah.
It's really quite blatant with Series 2. And my mum watches it and enjoys it, so...
Hey, that's something.
Yeah. It's very twisted, though.
Yeah.
And very weird.
With McBride, I wouldn't be surprised.
Edie Patterson plays the sister, and she's mental.
Oh, yeah.
Like her twisted her tragic backstory. Well, she tries to twist it as a tragic backstory, but it's like she kidnapped children or something. She's acting like she's hard done by.
Yeah, I'm
And her husband's just like, oh, Judy, I'm so sorry. Got treated to last episode where John Goodman shaves his balls. Yeah, that's a horror we can all identify with, I'm sure. But Peacemaker. That's the other main thing we're here to talk about.
Oh, yes. How was it?
Yeah, so this is the sort of sequel series to James Gunn's Suicide Squad. John Cena plays Peacemaker, a guy who loves peace so much he's willing to kill for it. And yeah, if you like Suicide Squad, you're going to like this.
Executive produced by James Gunn, I'm pretty sure.
Directed and written by.
Yeah.
He directed and wrote all the episodes of this series. The first 4 episodes will be out. Well, episode 4 is coming out tonight.
Hey.
But the first 3 episodes are out and there to watch. Peacemaker in the film was kind of one of the more divisive characters, I thought. He was entertaining, but he's not the nicest dude.
No.
And it was kind of going into this one thinking, of all the characters to spin off, this is probably not the one I would have chosen. Maybe chosen Bloodsport or Ratcatcher or Polka Dot Man or King Shark even over
Polka
Peacemaker.
Dot Man, he dead.
Well, if he was still alive, you probably would have gone, I'd like to have seen a series about him over Peacemaker.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Peacemaker, it doesn't change him. It feels like a natural character progression where he has regrets going forward and you kind of see the toxic world he's grown up in. His dad's played by Robert Patrick.
Hey, good to see him getting work still.
Yeah.
Have you seen this boy?
He plays a very horrible man in this one. I actually looked up the comic history of the character Peacemaker and it aligns really well, but he's white power kind of deal. Yeah.
Yikes.
Big yikes. But most of the cast, like the behind-the-scenes supporting cast of the Suicide Squad, return in this. Viola Davis gets a brief cameo.
Hey.
A few new characters as well. The character of Vigilante.
Old DC character from the comics with different...
Vigilante, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's...
Different style this time. I first saw Vigilante in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon.
What was he like in that?
He was a cowboy, voiced by Nathan Fillion.
Oh, right, well. The actor here, he's in Bridgerton and he was in Harry Potter. He played Cormac McLagan. And he's
Harry Potter.
He's here with an American accent and there's Ryan Reynolds like Deadpool like attitude to him, but he's distinct. He's even more twisted than Deadpool somehow, and he's entertaining.
Makes sense.
And twisted. Some bits feel satirical of like other DC properties, like there's a scene where Peacemaker dances in his underwear in his apartment, which feels very Joker like. Instead now you got to look at, John Cena
doing his tidy whities.
That's racist. Yeah. There's a fight scene in their underwear in episode 1. There's a pet eagle, who's great, voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
Hey!
Yeah, doing all the eagle squeaks and...
Going back to doing animal work, when I first saw him in Avatar.
Yeah. He actually voiced the rat Sebastian in Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Brilliant!
Yeah. Oh, and the intro to this show. Have you seen it?
I've seen it. It is on YouTube. What?
It's insane. It's like all the characters are dancing to this thing, and even the villains are dancing, and just it's completely out of character for all of them. But it's just brilliant, and it plays at every single episode. I wonder if it's going to change, like as some characters come and go.
They might. That's brilliant.
But if it kept it the same throughout the entire thing, like someone said, it's like anime openings where you have all the characters just have a dance number over the closing titles. It's really crazy and really funny. Yeah, if you like the Suicide Squad, it's one to check out. And even if you didn't like Peacemaker, it's worth checking out because they're doing some interesting character things with him.
DC seems to be embracing its lesser characters at the moment and giving them well-deserved treatment.
Batmite is canon now to the DCEU.
No!
He doesn't appear, but he's mentioned.
Oh no.
And it's like, I'd rather be working with Batmite. Who's Batmite? He's an interdimensional entity who stands Batman. And
wow.
So,
Which means Mr. Picklet, Mr.
However you pronounce that name.
Mr. Picklet is also canon in the DCEU for Superman.
Yeah, it's fun stuff like that, which I think, is also came about in the Marvel universe when James Gunn had his hands on that as well. He just went like, Howard the Duck's canon,
I'm going to throw out all the weird and wacky because can't stop me.
Pretty much, yeah. It makes the universe more interesting, and God, comparing it to like the dour Zack Snyder films, it's like this is the same universe as that, apparently. It's fun.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to it. All the episodes, and I'll probably be back in a few weeks' time to talk about when it's all done. And check it out if you can, Josh.
I will make it my mission to see Peacemaker.
Anyway, this has been the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
Tune in next week to hear us talk about the Eternals. Finally.
Oh boy. This has been a long one coming.
See you next time. Bye for now.